A man walks into a store. He buys a television, a few groceries, maybe a new phone. He taps a piece of plastic against a machine. Approved. The transaction takes less than 3 seconds. No cash changes hands. No negotiation. No visible cost. And somehow, that tiny moment becomes one of the most profitable events in modern finance. Not for him, but hidden beneath the convenience is a system built on a surprisingly uncomfortable truth. The most valuable credit card customers are often the ones who are struggling the most. And that creates incentives that few people ever stop to think about. To understand why, we need to go back. Long before cashback apps. Before airport lounges. Before metal cards that weigh as much as small tools. Back to a much simpler idea. Borrow now, pay later. At first, this sounded revolutionary. Instead of carrying cash, consumers could make purchases immediately and settle the bill afterward. Banks loved the concept. Consumers loved the convenience. Merchants loved the increased sales. Everybody appeared to win. And for a while, they did. But then something interesting happened. The industry discovered that convenience wasn't the most profitable part of the business. Debt was. Imagine 2 customers. The first pays every bill in full. Every month. No exceptions. The second carries a balance. Month after month. Paying interest. Missing occasional payments. Accumulating fees. Which customer do you think is worth more to a credit card company? The answer isn't even close. The second customer can generate hundreds or even thousands of dollars in revenue over time. The first customer might generate very little. In industry language, these groups even have nicknames. Customers who pay everything off are often called transactors. Customers who carry balances are called revolvers. The names sound harmless, but they reveal something important. The system isn't primarily designed around people who never pay interest. It's incredibly profitable because millions of people do. And this is where the dark side begins. Most people don't experience debt as a dramatic catastrophe. It's rarely a movie scene, no ominous music, no sudden collapse. Debt usually arrives quietly. A dinner here, a subscription there, a flight booked during a stressful week, an emergency expense, a purchase justified as future use problem. Nothing feels dangerous until the numbers start interacting with each other. Because credit card debt has a strange property. It grows when you're not paying attention. A balance of a few $1,000s doesn't sound terrifying. Then interest enters the picture. 20%, 25%, sometimes more, and suddenly the math becomes aggressive. Imagine carrying a $5,000 balance at a 25% annual interest rate. The interest alone can exceed $1,000 over time. Money disappears, not into products, not into experiences, not into investments, just into the cost of owing money. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people know interest exists. Very few understand how quickly it compounds against them. Credit card debt behaves like compound interest in reverse. Everyone loves hearing about compound interest when it's making them rich. Far fewer enjoy it when it's making someone else rich. The same mathematical force that can grow an investment portfolio can slowly trap a borrower. And the industry knows this very well. Which brings us to rewards. The shiny part of the story. Cashback. Travel points. Luxury benefits. Free flights. Free hotel nights. Exclusive experiences. The marketing is brilliant because rewards feel like a financial victory. Spend money. Receive money. Simple. Except rewards aren't free. Someone always pays. Sometimes it's the merchant. Sometimes it's the borrower. Often it's both. Every time a merchant accepts a credit card, a percentage of the transaction disappears into fees. A few percent might not sound significant. Until you're operating a business with thin margins, those fees eventually become part of prices, which means even people paying cash can end up indirectly subsidizing reward systems. The result is a strange transfer of money. People who avoid debt may help support rewards enjoyed by people using premium cards. At the same time, people paying interest often generate the profits that fund those rewards in the first place. The free vacation isn't necessarily free. The cost may simply be hidden somewhere else. But the psychology goes deeper. Credit cards change behavior, not because people are irrational, because humans respond to friction. Think about handing over cash. You physically see money leaving your possession. The experience feels real, sometimes slightly painful. Credit cards remove much of that sensation. A tap, a beep, done. Behavioral researchers have repeatedly found that people often spend more when payment feels less immediate, not because they're irresponsible, because the brain experiences the transaction differently. The pain of paying gets delayed. The purchase happens now. The consequences arrive later. This separation turns out to be incredibly powerful and incredibly profitable. Yet the darkest part of the system may not be spending. It's normalization. Debt has become so ordinary that many people stop questioning it. A car payment, student loans, credit card balances, buy now pay later plans, monthly subscriptions, financing options, installments. Everything becomes a monthly number. the actual price begins to fade into the background. A $1,000 purchase doesn't feel like $1,000 anymore. It feels like $27 a month, or $42 a month, or whatever number sounds manageable. The focus shifts from cost to affordability, and that subtle shift changes everything, because almost anything can seem affordable when viewed through monthly payments. This creates an environment where consumers can slowly become surrounded by obligations they never intended to accumulate. One payment isn't dangerous, neither is a second. Or a third. The problem emerges when all of them arrive together. Then there's another uncomfortable reality. Credit card companies possess enormous amounts of data. They know spending patterns, payment histories, behavioral tendencies, risk profiles. They employ sophisticated models designed to predict who is likely to borrow, who is likely to repay, and who may become profitable customers. This isn't necessarily sinister. It's business. But it does create an asymmetry. One side is making financial decisions while managing work, family, stress, and everyday life. The other side employs teams of analysts, economists, data scientists, and algorithms. The game isn't exactly being played on equal footing, and that's before considering the modern digital economy. Today, spending opportunities are everywhere. In your pocket, on your watch, on your television, inside social media feeds, inside games, inside apps. The distance between desire and purchase has almost vanished. A product appears. A button appears. The transaction happens. Within seconds, credit cards fit perfectly into this environment. They eliminate waiting, eliminate hesitation, eliminate friction, which sounds wonderful, until you realize friction isn't always bad. Sometimes friction protects us. A locked door creates friction. So does a speed limit. So does a waiting period. Removing every obstacle can produce efficiency. It can also produce mistakes. And perhaps that's the deepest irony of all. Credit cards are often marketed as tools of freedom, financial flexibility, control, convenience, and for disciplined users, they genuinely can provide those benefits. But the same system that empowers one person can quietly trap another. The same card that earns rewards can generate debt. The same convenience that saves time can encourage overspending. The same flexibility that solves emergencies can create long-term obligations. The technology itself isn't evil. The danger lies in the incentives surrounding it. Because the system doesn't necessarily need consumers to fail completely. It only needs enough people to carry balances often enough. Enough people to pay interest. Enough people to underestimate the math. Enough people to believe that tomorrow's income will easily solve today's borrowing. And historically, millions have. Which raises a larger question. What happens when an economy becomes increasingly dependent on consumption financed by debt? For decades, consumer spending has powered economic growth across much of the world. People buy. Businesses earn. Companies expand. Jobs are created. Markets rise. But debt-fueled consumption contains a hidden vulnerability. Future income gets pulled into the present. People spend tomorrow's money today. That can accelerate growth. Until tomorrow finally arrives. And the bill arrives with it. Suddenly, what looked like prosperity can reveal itself as borrowed time. Not always. Not everywhere. But often enough to matter. History is filled with examples. Credit booms. Asset bubbles. Periods of easy borrowing, followed by painful adjustments. The pattern repeats because human nature repeats. Optimism expands. Risk feels manageable. Debt feels reasonable. Until conditions change. Then assumptions collide with reality. And this is why credit cards remain such a fascinating invention. They are neither heroes nor villains. They are amplifiers. They amplify discipline. They amplify temptation. They amplify opportunity. And sometimes they amplify mistakes. A credit card can help someone build a strong financial life. The exact same card can help someone dig a financial hole. The difference often isn't the technology. It's the behavior surrounding it. Yet behavior itself doesn't exist in isolation. It's shaped by incentives, by marketing, by psychology, by convenience, by economic pressure, and by systems carefully designed to encourage spending. Which brings us back to that simple transaction at the beginning. A card touches a machine. 3 seconds pass. Approved. An ordinary moment. One of billions happening around the world. Most people never think about what happens next. The fees, the incentives, the algorithms, the interest, the behavioral nudges, the entire financial machine, quietly humming behind the scenes. They just see a purchase. But perhaps that's the point. The most powerful systems are often the ones that become invisible. And if a system becomes invisible long enough, people stop asking questions. Questions like, who benefits most? Who carries the risk? And when convenience becomes so seamless that it feels free, how do we know whether we're using the system, or whether the system is using us?